States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father which art in heaven, dear Lord God, we are thankful and very grateful to you for all of your many blessings you bestowed upon the city of Dillon. We ask that you continue to bless our mayor, city council, our city manager, our city attorney, and department heads on tonight, that you will make decisions for the betterment of all the citizens of Dillon. And in everything we do, we pray we be careful to give your name the glory, the honor, and the praise. But in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. So I want to welcome everybody here this evening. Press, y'all always welcome. Glad to have you. Have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight. Second. All in favor? Opposed? Have a motion to approve the minutes on two meetings, January 8th, regular scheduled meeting, and the June 29th special call meeting.
I make a motion.
Second. All in favor? Opposed? I thought we had two special meetings.
Go ahead.
Well, we may.
Okay, yeah. All right. I got a couple of things. I apologize to Betsy. I called her earlier this week, said she had a figure wrong on the hospitality tax balance. I think that's the figure we gave her. The budget, starting a new fiscal year, July the 1st. I think last month I kind of summarized it. I'm going to briefly do it again. We adopted a budget, general fund budget of a little over $5 million, $5,095,000. Water sewer budget of $3.6 million. So in total, we have about $8.7 million budget in the city of Dillon. Had a few adjustments. We raised the garbage rate by 43 cents. And if I'm wrong on these figures, you tell me, but what I had was 43 cents, which would bring the residential garbage rate to $21.95 a month. I know there's some changes on the commercial rates too, but
Those went up all across the board, 2%.
2% across the board. Same 2% we did on your water sewer bill, which followed a CPI increase. We haven't had one in a while, so we thought that would be a better method of adjusting rates rather than doing it once every 2, 3, or 4 years. But that'll bring a base rate of 5,000 gallons up about 69 cents per household to about $36.35 a month. So the budget has, and I'm real proud of the budget with the city. I'm not tapping us on our shoulders up here. It's been a great job by Benny and Janet and Glenn, all the department heads on bringing the budget to us. Glenn, I know you mentioned something not tapping into the reserve fund. What reserve fund would that be? Just the general fund?
Well, both this year that we just completed, I know in water and sewer, I'm just looking to make sure again, we budgeted this past year that ended on June 30th, 2015, reserve fund in water and sewer. We budgeted $400,000, yes, $412,000. And just looking in your budget you have here in front of you, or finance report that you have that ended June 30th, 2015, is not really finalized because there have to be some things done through the audit process. But as of right now, we're like $100,000 expenses more than we did in revenue. But that did not include using any of that $412,000. But at the end of the year, we'll end up using 100 of that $412,000 because our expenses were higher than revenue on the water and sewer. This year that we end, we did not budget any use of reserve fund. From a general fund standpoint, did we budget last year, Janet, for number?
Well, the point I want to make, we really don't have a reserve fund that we can go dip into to balance the budget.
That's correct.
There's not a pot of money to do that.
Yeah, correct.
I know some municipalities have a reserve fund through a sale of assets. They can go in and tap that reserve fund to help balance the budget. We can't do that here. We balance the budget with what we got, which is tough these days, but that's what you have to do. That's what we're called to do every year going forward, is present a balanced budget. It's balanced. There's not a so-called reserve fund that we have, or one does not exist with the city of Dillon. It's based on the revenues minus our expenses. And that's what we got. On the, I went over and looked briefly the other day on the revenues. If you look on your spreadsheets, every department.
You're in general fund?
I'm in the general fund. Every department, most departments did very well. We're under budget. On the taxes, what we get in taxes, we were about 31,000 on these spreadsheets more. We took in more than what we budgeted for the revenues. On licenses, permits, business licenses, sanitation fees, franchise fees, court fines, we were 23,000 in the green or the black. State aid, which I see we got a pretty good bump on that. Revenues, demolition, interest, state aid, lost revenue, we were 134. Black, but I know a lot of that was due to money coming in from the state. On the wellness center, and I'm just kind of highlighting some things. Of course, the wellness center, we never bring in what we expense out, but we went over in revenue some items like membership. We exceeded our goal. Daily users, we exceeded our goal, and by about 8,000 on that. Where we got hit in the general fund and the water sewer are utility costs this year. That by a lot. If it weren't for the increase in the utilities, we would really be sitting in good shape. But some reason the utility costs really hampered us this year, or more so than what I saw in the past. But all these departments were right at budget or under budget as far as revenues and expenses. I know the police department is always with overtime. They were about $76,000, but we had that. We knew that going in. Fire department, good. Keith, hats off to you guys. Beautification department was way under budget again. So it was a good year. Y'all really did a jam-up job on the numbers and keeping them as close to the best as you can. The water sewer fund was, already, again, you did a good job. It just don't, y'all are right in line. I mean, a little better than in line from what I see. And, it's hard to gauge that, I know, with capital outlay. Some departments have huge capital outlay, but it was because we were making purchases. But other than that, y'all were right there in line or on. And that's, we appreciate it because it makes our job much easier. I know Glenn and Janet's job much easier when you guys are coming in at budget or under budget.
If I can ask, what is the grant revenue, the CDBG grant revenue? What is that?
That was on the water line that we did the grant, a block grant behind J.B. Martin, and also a portion of what we're doing over here in Stewart Heights.
Because it's showing the revenue.
Yeah, well, the state gives us X number of dollars when it's time to pay the contract. So that comes in there. Does it show, do we show the expense on it? And we then have the expense on it.
Okay. And the miscellaneous return check, I see that's really 500%.
Yeah, that's getting checks, people write to us that.
So we budget 7,500, we got 22,000.
How is that more?
That's that insurance, miscellaneous.
Okay,
That's
miscellaneous
insurance
and return check, that would be insurance also from lightning damage and things of that nature on the water and sewer side.
We had a real good year in the insurance with the claims, and also the municipal association
Okay.
refunded the money between the cities. So that's what that is.
A portion of it went to the water and sewer, and then a portion of that went to
General fund.
general fund. And when she says insurance, we're not talking health, we're talking tort and liability insurance.
I do want to, as far as the budget, I'm closing on that, Glenn. I'll let you do anything you want to add to it. I want to mention something that came out that generated a lot of talk 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it had Dillon. I don't know if it was the city of Dillon or the county of Dillon, rated the #1 most violent city in South Carolina, or county. I don't know, it didn't make that distinction. You know, Glenn, you're going to have to help me with this a little bit, or Chief. We get grants, or eligible for grants, when when our crime rate hits a certain percentage, or point, right?
That's right.
We haven't gotten any of those grants, have we?
Well, we get them, but we don't get as much money as we used
No,
to.
they cut us out this
On the
year.
JAG,
They cut us out.
Why?
because of our crime rate's low.
Because our crime rate's low. That's right. So, it's obviously a conflict. You got where the most violent, and it didn't say city, it might have been the county. But at the same time, we can't get some of the grants that are out there for other municipalities in the state because of our crime rate being low. I don't understand all that. I don't keep up with those grants or how they work, but that ought to tell you something. I was on WPD website the other day and something caught my eye. They had a community meeting in Lumberton, and it was on crime. You know, Robinson County right above us. And what I read, and I talked to Captain David Lane on it a little bit, says according to the Lumberton law enforcement, there have been 2,133 arrests in Lumberton this year. Now, I don't know if those arrest records include traffic violations. I don't know if that's included in these numbers. But it's gotten to the point where last month they had 380 arrests. In May they had 356. I have no doubt some of that stuff is spilling over into Dillon County from across the board. It has to. By comparison, I talked with Captain Lane, and you know, in our 12 months, we've had about 600 arrests. I think those are doesn't include traffic citations.
That's right. No, they don't.
But still, and that includes juveniles, from what I've got. 540 adults, 41 juveniles for the past 12 months. And if Lumberton doesn't include traffic citations, and I don't think they're meeting at neighborhoods to talk about traffic citations, but 2,133 in 6 months. Now Lumberton's a larger municipality than the city of Dillon, no doubt. But that is the kind of stuff I hate to see written about. I know it's kind of sensational journalism. We do have issues. We had a outbreak here, we all know, 5, 6, 7 weeks ago. It's unfortunate, but I think that drives some of this on these stats. But I wanted to bring that up. That I don't think it's the city. I hope it's not. Like I said, I'm not quite sure how they gauge those numbers or how they get those figures to rank us among others. Some other cities are in there that had me scratching my head too, like Hartsville and Camden. But I wanted to bring that up. I spoke with Glenn, Chief, and I just, our police officers do so much, and I asked him the other week at ball games, because I know we're going to be coming to ball games again. Our guys can't really go enjoy a football game because they're working them all the time. I mean, at each gate, hard. Metal detectors and you name it. Is there a way we can let our department, kind of on a rotational basis with the sheriff's office, maybe get with you on it and let them handle some of that too? Is that
right now? The deal is they handle the home side and we handle the visitor side. That's the way it's been for years.
okay? And they're doing all the.
They're supposed to be taking care of the home side, and you guys do the visitor side.
All right. It seems like it takes a lot of our guys on those ball games, and I like for them to be able to go see it too. Because when I go in, they're lined up. They're there at halftime, I think. But anyway,
what is the rotation? Just since the mayor brought it up, is 4 people off on that night, or is your whole police force?
No, we don't have a whole police force unless we have somebody like Mallard Creek in here.
Right.
Then we bring everybody in.
Depending on what we think the size of the,
So if you off that Friday, you schedule off, you basically get it off. Is that what you're saying? You don't have to come, you can work overtime if you want to, but you.
yeah, they're asked, yeah.
So that's overtime.
Yeah, that's okay. And usually, depending on, as the chief was saying, who we play
Mhm.
and what kind of crowd you think we're gonna have, we may do 4 or 5 on a normal night. If it's gonna be something bigger, do something bigger. But now we did implement, I think, 2 years ago, having the high school to agree to let us do some fencing to kind of separate both sides, so you cut out all the walking and problems. And that's helped in the last 2 or 3 years too.
Well, we'll do whatever we gotta do to keep it safe. I mean, that's fine.
And
I'm
that's-
just looking out for,
that's-
our fellows, see what they can do. I didn't know if it's evenly spread, that's fine. I'm not knocking it off. I just know we're coming up on it. Because, however you do on the budget, bringing in recreation as far as tourism on ball games, whatever, it doesn't matter if your city is deemed dangerous. Those of us that like to serve, that'll get us off the city council quicker than anything else in the world, and people don't think you are paying attention to their public welfare. And we are. That's why that article really kind of hit home with. But I think that's number one priority. It's not a thing, that's what it is. Your safety and crime in your area is the number one thing. And we'll be diligent on it as long as we can. If it continues, or like it did 7 or 8 weeks ago, we'll do some different things if we have to. It upsets people, it'll upset them. I think probably Laura just calm down some. On a happier note, I want to we got a letter or a thank you card from the theater, thanking them for the accommodations tax and what was appropriated to the theater from Dan Austin, Secretary of the Dillon County Theater, to bring that up. I did a little show. You got this Down Home Dillon show, and I went out to Marion. I got to ask, Maggie calls me. Where's Maggie? But Maggie called and says, Todd, I want you to go to Marion to do this. And she knew I hemmed and hawed about it. I didn't really want to ride to Marion to do it because I like focusing on Dillon. But I did. I went. And I'm glad I did. Marion, over there, Marion County, is really a PD project. It is all about regionalism, and I just want to bring attention to it, especially to our farmers. Over in Marion on 501, when you go bypass Marion, they're doing something called a PD Agroporium. And you farmers, I want you to hear this. It's not a farmer's market. I'll read this. The PD Agroporium is a 25,000 square foot facility with a commercial kitchen. Why this interested me, Johnny, I think you were into this. We attempted to look at a commercial kitchen in Dillon 7, 8, 9 years ago. And it couldn't get it off the ground due to the funding. But they're going to have a...
We're going to use it to those buildings we just tore down?
Yeah, we're looking at it over there. But they got it. It's going to have a commercial kitchen incubator, a packaging area, a small business assistance center, an adjacent 5,800 square foot retail store, a food hub. It says the Agroporium is located off Highway 501, less than 1 mile from the Walmart in Marion. It's not a farmer's market. It's a facility that they say is actively managed the aggregation, distribution, and marketing of source-identified food products primarily from local and regional vendors. And I know there are some local vendors here that have already signed up. So they allow growers of any size to gain entry into the market. What they're going to do is gain entry into that Grand Strand market. Where in the past you may have the product, but you didn't have the capital perhaps to get it there. You got to have an FDA certified kitchen to process it, which we didn't have. Then you got to transport it there, among other things. Says the food hub will consist of refrigeration, freezer stays, loading dock, washing station, parking areas, everything you need, a one-stop shop, where in the past you didn't have this. The Grand Strand is, again, their primary target. They've already set up arrangements with restaurants down there. The only other one is located in Charleston, in South Carolina. I think some of us visited one in Asheville.
Yeah, we went to Asheville.
So to make a long story short, this is right in our backyard. In fact, South Carolina Living did an article on it in their magazine.
You go there to eat?
No, you don't go there to eat.
They go there to...
They go in there to market and have a distribution channel for their product. I know McCall Farms in Bennettsville, all the way in McBee, McLeod Farms is signed on. We're talking with them.
It's kind of bypasses the middleman and they sell
It's an
direct.
aggregator.
Yeah, okay.
Where you can carry your stuff and have it, everything done right there to market and sell your product. And you'll hand it off to them. And they'll do it. Now they got to make it feasible for them. I mean, as far as from an economic standpoint. But that is a big deal right here being 18, 20 miles from us. One of the big selling points of this PD area is agribusiness. And that's going to be a big deal over there. You're going to hear more about it. They're going to be up and running here, I think, the end of this year.
So what's their capital investment?
Oh, gosh. I don't know, Phil. I'll let you know in
Just
a
from a
minute.
business standpoint, I mean, they have an idea of what they need to do to break even.
Yeah, they've already,
Make grants to support all that?
it's
or-
predicted to bring in at least $3 million by year 5.
3 million.
They've already, the thing is, they've already got all the funding. And that's the key.
Is this being done through the county?
Huh?
Is this being done through the county?
No, through the state, too. It's more this county funding. They've had funding sources locally, but also in the state. Right. So the funding's done. The hard part's
So
over.
the state is going to operate.
No, they're going to operate it locally.
Your excitement is because you'd like to think about doing one here, or
No.
you're going to support that over
No,
there?
support that over there.
Okay.
It's
All right.
totally and what I was saying, I was kind of reluctant to go over there in their backyard on that show. But it is a regionalism thing. It is ours over there.
Okay.
Okay, it's a concept, a regional concept. You couldn't do one here and there.
Right.
It just, you wouldn't have,
Enough volume.
volume. Maybe you would, because we're sitting in the agricultural pocket of the southeast of the United States. From what
Well,
we're
we're in a unique, I mean, to just sell products direct, we're in a unique situation, right there with Highway 9 running right down.
Well, everybody likes Whole Foods, fresh food. I mean, that's why Whole Foods went to an S&P 500 company. And those restaurants on the beach want fresh, locally food. Now, our farmers here have a place to carry it and a place to sell it they got a clientele for it. And they all in one.
Put it
Everything
together.
goes together. It's already done. So look for more on that. I hope you hear more about it. You will be hearing a lot more about it, but I was excited about it. I think a lot of people here will be also. And that's all I got right now. I do want to bring, hold on, I want to go ahead and, where's Jacory? Jacory and Kenny Smith, I would bring y'all two up a second. I know you got a couple guests. Corey and Kenny have asked me to go to Manning Baptist Church 2 weeks ago, and they really stepping up with their young people and making a difference. Corey called me, I think a Sunday evening or whenever, and asked me would I go. He had a group of about 18, I think from ages 10 to 15, Corey, somewhere there. And they're just trying to make a difference for the youth in Dillon, in the city of Dillon. And Corey, I want to thank you and Kenny for all you taking your time. There's a lot of rhetoric to what people say they want to do for young people, but y'all are doing it. And I want to commend you for it, thank you for it. I enjoyed my time with them, but I know y'all had them stretched out all week, and I know y'all aren't just doing that for them. You're really putting your efforts where you say you are. And, anything y'all would like to add, or what else you're doing going forward?
We did, as he said, a career week this week, and he came and the fire department came, and basically we wanted to show them that there was more jobs in Dillon than you actually see. And I thought maybe they will come and present it to them, but that didn't work out. So I want to present this to them from the Dillon County Boys and Girls Youth Center. They had made it for them. And it says, "Dear Mr. Mayor, we would like to thank you for inspiring us to aim for more in life. You encouraged me to reach my goals, and I am so lucky to have the best mayor in Dillon." Signed, Kenny Smith and Andy Smith. Dillon County Boys and Girls Youth Center.
Appreciate it. I'm sorry they couldn't make it. Y'all appreciate it. Kenny.
Also, we're doing a youth empowerment summit in September of this year, September 26th. This is for the males from ages 13 to 21 down at Brandy's Banquet Hall from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. with a variety of different subject things that young males should know, or at least hear about. Something to give them in a positive direction. That'll be on September the 26th from 8 to 3 p.m. It's free to the youth, but we are asking the citizens and business owners to sponsor a youth or several youth if they can. The sponsorship is $25 per youth, and we're giving them breakfast, lunch, a snack. All of them will get T-shirts and some type of motivational literature along with the backpack for that seminar itself. All youth in Dillon County.
I'll get back with you and we'll bring it back up. So we can,
Yes, sir.
thank you now. Glenn?
Prior to the meeting, I gave you 2 pieces of paper. I'm going to go over it briefly. But before I do that, since Betsy's here, what the mayor was speaking of about crime being in Dillon, and we know that wasn't in the Dillon Herald, it was on Facebook, and as the old saying goes, don't believe everything on the internet. I imagine if there was some legs to it, you'd have had something. So thank you for not following that lead. The first thing I handed to you, and then Dr. Wallace came in late, I think I left it for you, 2 sheets there, is agendas and FOIA, which is Freedom of Information Act. Back in June, the General Assembly, the State Senate legislators, and House of Representatives passed bills that the governor signed in June that states that municipalities and counties have certain things to follow as far as transparency goes. And pretty much we do everything as it is outlined on this piece of paper that I give you. One, there was some cities or some counties were not posting agendas. We do that. We post them at least 24 hours prior to the meeting, which is required by law. Other things is that you got to now add your agendas to your web, if you have a website. And you got to make sure that you get it to the media, which we've always done that. I just wanted to give you this. There may be some changes that we may have to do, and I looked again today in our rules of procedures. If anything is going to be changed on the agenda prior to 24 or earlier hours prior to a council meeting, if it's going to be added to the agenda, which we have done in the past once the meeting starts, 2/3 of the members present must approve it to be added to the agenda. And what I'm giving you here is a flow chart that kind of pretty much says how that's going to be done. The first question it asks is, will the item require a vote of council to be taken at the meeting? If it does, is this the final vote of that item? If it is, it requires 2/3 vote of members present and findings of emergency circumstances. And emergency circumstances would mean, is that going to bring harm to the citizens of your municipality? That's what considers an emergency. If it doesn't going to be a final vote on the item, has there been or will there be an opportunity for public comment on the item at the public meeting? If yes, it still requires 2/3 members vote. If no, it goes back to an emergency situation. So that just gives you some idea, which we do follow it pretty much to the letter. We try to be as transparent as possible, but that's just for your benefit to know. I also know that Councilman Washington and Councilman Ella probably will hear about that this week. Both are attending the Municipal Association annual meeting, and this will be discussed a good bit. But that's just for your purpose, and we will try to make sure that that is followed. The next thing I gave you is just something that popped up here in the last week. I know some council members have been asked about certain things as annexation or required for some property that's located outside the city. And our policy and ordinance is that there is a property, not the building, but the property is outside the city, and it wants to have our utilities, and it changed ownership. To get those utilities, it must annex. And then that's what that second page is, talks about annexation required for access to city utilities.
When did we do that?
It's always been the city's policy, but we put it in an ordinance form. If you see on the bottom of that page, September 10th, 2007 is when that was put in an ordinance form. But we've always had that policy, actually extending back to the late 1980s. But
I
that,
just didn't remember it, but somebody said, obviously, probably all of us have been approached, but I wasn't aware of it, didn't quite understand, certainly want everything annexed in we can. Is the furniture plant's not?
they're not, that is
They're
correct.
not in.
But
Is
if it ever,
anything on that side of I-95 annexed in?
it goes up to the property.
That's correct.
It comes across I-95 from behind Christian School, and it extends over to the other side of the interstate.
So there's some on the other side of the interstate.
Not actually land, other than interstate land that we got as it went
So
over
the
to.
interstate's kind of like a river. Everything on one side is annexed in, everything on the other side is.
Well, it goes from behind the Christian School across the interstate to the end of that right-of-way of the interstate. So that property would be contiguous
Wait a minute,
to the city.
the interstate's not ours.
Portion of it's in the city, yes. Because all that was annexed in when the Christian School was built.
I thought we had an issue when we were talking about maintaining, that exit.
That's in the city. And the only one, the 34, portion of 34, and that is now in the city, because we did some annexations a year or so ago on it. But when this Christian School when that property was purchased, I guess mid-90s, and they purchased the property where the Christian School was, they wanted our utilities, so they annexed. And when that was done, it extended back behind the Christian School up across the interstate. So
The Christian school goes up to the interstate.
well, I didn't say the property did, but properties behind it also became contiguous, and the property owner also annexed, so it went across the interstate. But I mean, that's your policy. The only way you can do it is if we change the ordinance.
What kind of tax revenue would you get out of that kind of property?
I don't know.
Ben, you have any idea?
Sir, it's based on a lot of ideas like gross income of your business, where you have to pay business license, and then I'm thinking we did the property taxes calculations, and it's an additional about $2,000 to $3,000 in property taxes he would have to pay, or the new owner would have to pay if they attain the property. But those are only additional taxes that I know of.
So a business license
And property
and
taxes.
property tax and the property tax You say 2,000 or 3,000?
Yes, sir.
That's if you don't have a business license already.
No,
No.
you pay for a business license every year.
That's correct.
I just did,
And you would pay for,
based on your
Gross income.
volume, your income.
but I wanted you to have that, so, because I know you've been getting calls. And
Have we ran into this before? I mean, have
yeah,
had-
there was an issue on 301 North probably 10, 12 years ago.
What do we do?
They annexed because they wanted our utilities.
It's just the same thing that just happened with Selma's Grocery not too long ago.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
okay, and you bring that up, Selma's Grocery, which is out beyond on number 9 on the other side of the interstate, right there at Racetrack Road and Weeks Road. When that was sold, they had our utilities and the property was sold. To keep our utilities, we made them annex. That is
Even
correct.
though they're not connected?
Yeah, out there they were, yes.
How are they connected there?
Because on the left side going out on number 9,
That's all?
the Econo Lodge, the last hotel on the left's in,
Uh-huh.
a portion of those Missy's One Stop, that empty field, and then
Lawrence,
there's
Taylor Park. Mobile home park.
some mobile home parks on the left there in. That is correct. But I wanted you to have that just so you have something, some talking points. And like I said, you can do whatever you want, but you have to change your ordinance, which is a 2-reading, process and things of that nature. But the purpose for this, not only does the city of Dillon does it, all cities do it. That's how you grow.
Yeah, that's,
And that's your growth.
Well, it also helps you add or not include undesirable property too.
Yeah,
If it comes in, if they want it, then if they're in the city, then we got some say on what
That's
you
right.
got to do with that property.
That is
If
correct.
they run down, you got to fix it up and get it done.
That is correct. But I just wanted to make sure you had that so you knew what was going on. You had spoke briefly about the previous budget, and pretty much things were pretty much in line. We got some revenues from the general fund that were a little higher than expected. We probably got some more that's not reflected on here. Overall, I thought our revenues did well, both on the water, sewer, and general fund side. We will know more when the budget, and when the audit is doing what we actually did. But I was pleased as we were talking about reserve fund on the water and sewer, that we budgeted last year 400 some odd thousand, and we'll end up, right at 100,000 to what we'll end up using instead of the 400,000 what we budgeted for, which was a blessing this past year.
how are we gonna refund that?
Well, we're refunding it right now by increasing our,
I mean, at what rate are we refunding?
well, we want to refund.
Re-rolling
We took some steps in this budget year, this year, because not only of the losses that we had 2 years ago. We'll probably be close to a loss this year in water and sewer when you think about the $100,000 that we'll use out of the reserve fund balance. But with the 2% increase in water and sewer sales for this year and
What
then the next year.
anticipated margin, and I know that's not a good word, but what anticipated margin are we gonna have there?
I don't know that we'll have a huge margin. It'll probably be just enough based on usage to get back what we lost the previous year, roughly $100,000.
We used to run 20%.
15 to 20%, that is correct.
So what time?
Well, we didn't budget or do a rate study. I think we talked about that last.
Yeah, but we said we were gonna increase it.
And we increased it only by the CPI, not actually do a rate study.
Let me ask you back to that reserve fund balance. That's the fund that you allocated funds to for water and sewer. I mean, that's,
Now, actually, our reserve fund balance would be just like you have at home. At the end of the year, if your personal checking account or savings account. That is unrestricted funds that we have, that has been built up over the years.
So what's in that?
Right now,
And the unrestricted funds,
1.8?
1.6.
and we had budgeted for 400,000, which we didn't use, we'll end up using about 100,000.
Are we making conversation with Purdue in anticipation for March?
Yes.
Some idea about how we're gonna approach that? And
We haven't come to anything conclusion yet, but we still feel like we need to, from a restricted fund depreciation, we
Yeah.
still need to continue that.
Well, I mean, we need to grow that to some point that we both agree on. And,
But that's,
And what do you foresee that being at the end of this budget year, reserve fund?
well,
well, it
do
just
your
said it's gonna grow it back 100,000, so it'd be 1.7.
what's in the reserve fund, unrestricted reserve fund over the years, it wasn't budgeted for here's how much money we're gonna put in the unreserved
We
fund.
just had a margin.
It's just what at the end of the year over years where we brought in more revenue than what we spent. So that'd be like a savings account.
Yeah, I still can't figure out why we're not making that money, because it all happened when we ran through that 2-year period of time where our sludge cost was up, and Purdue's flows were down, and we're sending us too high a concentration. Now we're fixed, right?
Doing better than we were, but we're not fixed.
But you gotta remember now, the last,
Wait a minute, I don't want to give this away. You
Yeah,
know,
but-
I mean, listen, I hear it from them that we're the worst and we're the highest, and then I hear it from us that we've got this sludge and slow, you know, we got low flow. I mean, are they sending us the proper concentration?
They've been doing better right here lately.
Okay.
but now you also remember 2 years ago, we spent, what, over $500,000 in repairs that,
I understand that.
so that's
That
what,
800,000.
yeah, that's what ate up our reserve
I
fund there.
understand that, but that doesn't explain why we don't have a 20% margin. This margin thing, that bothers me. So either we're not being very efficient with our water and sewage department, or somehow our revenues are down over our costs. Figure it out. What are the flows out there from Purdue now?
They can vary from like 1.8 to 2 million.
So, you know, I mean, that's good flow. I mean, is our overhead out there gone up extremely high?
We've had a lot of stuff tear up this year.
I mean, 1.8, 2 million is good flow for Purdue. I think it maxed out at 2.4. But they dropped their gallons per bird from about 9 gallons to 5 gallons. I don't know. I just feel like somewhere along the way, I mean, maybe we've got an aging, you know, sewage treatment plant, but if that's the case, we need to build in margins so we can grow that again.
One more thing, I want to add, Dr. Wallace, aren't we still having to do the the phase 3 at the wastewater?
Yeah, we haven't done that yet.
So what happens if that bites us? We don't know if that could buy us some hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Well, we can use restricted funds on
Yeah.
that, though, can't we? And what do we
That's
have
correct.
in that? About 2.5, 2.7 million?
No.
No, one,
You scared.
that's it.
So we've got really just 2.7 million in reserves.
2.7.
That's not good. That's not good.
Well, I will go ahead and begin working with y'all's blessing on a rate study.
Well, I think.
And that's where you're gonna figure out your margins.
I think that, you know, in the margin is to build up reserves, but this needs to be part of our discussion with Purdue as we grow that you know, depreciation fund so that we don't get in trouble. If we have another $1 million sinkhole, then, you know, we're in bad shape.
I think
And we have to shut them down.
we ain't seen, they kind of reluctant to fund that, don't you?
Well,
Well,
my
let's be
argument,
weak then.
well, my argument or discussion with them being, as you mentioned earlier, that they talk about their rates